This time they were so secretive about everything, and I was like, you gotta send me this.
I
gotta learn it. And I remember getting it and like going, oh God, no one else is talking, and this is a lot. And just walking around my farm for hours and hours because I could tell the reaction of the other actors, what was bothering them, what was getting under their skin. They were releasing what was happening on the show on the internet before the episode would come out. So we shot an ending. I take a bat to every person's head.
Welcome back to Scene Stealers. I'm your host, John Feitelberg. Here we watch our favorite scenes with our favorite actors. Today we are blessed to have Jeffrey Dean Morgan with us, guys. Negan is in the house.
Negan is in the house.
Walking Dead, Dead City, Season 3. It is out now. Go watch it. How the hell are you, man?
Brother,
how are you?
I'm really good.
We have a lot to talk about.
Let's
do
it.
We have a ton. We're going to go through a bunch of your filmography today, but we're going to start with Walking Dead, Dead City.
Okay.
Because Season 2 left us where you and Maggie are...
We've been on the outs for so long. I want to say that we leave it with her stabbing me, right?
Yeah, but then patching you up.
And then kind of patching it up. Yeah, I feel like that we have kind of patched it up since the finale of the mothership show, The Walking Dead. We kind of patched it up. I don't know if you remember, but you know, she was like, look, I welcome you to this community now. You can stay here with, your wife and kid and be part of this. And I'm never going to really like you, but you've earned your place here. And then cut to, Dead City the next year, and she sets me up and uses me as bait for her son.
Yeah. But then you're a fucking badass. You're like, knife down, I'll go. Moving the knife off your neck and being like, I'll go.
I'll go. You got me.
Dude,
I'll do it.
That's fucking hero shit.
I feel like Negan has been trying to make up with Maggie for whatever reason, for a lot of reasons, I think.
Whatever he did to piss her off.
Whatever I did to upset her for so long. And then this year, bouncing out of getting stabbed but kind of finding an understanding. I think this is the first year where the tone is decidedly different between the two characters. You know, we were talking earlier, Lauren and I, about the fact that, these are two characters that have been in each other's universe. I've been on the show for 10 years, but I
was reading, you used to DVR the show. That's how long it's been around. It's an incredible franchise.
I remember when I first started The Walking Dead, I was shooting a show called Magic City. Yeah. But I remember watching The Walking Dead and thinking, wow, I mean, this is changing television. And that was, the Frank Darabont years and the first 3 years of Walking Dead and became obsessed with the show. Was such a huge fan. I never missed it and DVR'd it or I might have VHS'd it, for all I know, right over my porn collection. That's only half a joke. And then, I remember going to Comic-Con because I always had a project somewhere at Comic-Con and people coming up to me and saying, hey, I know you're a fan of The Walking Dead. The comic book just came out and this character Negan is introduced and man, you should play him. And 5 years later or something, I was doing The Good Wife at that point and I got the phone call from Scott Gimple and Robert Kirkman saying, hey, we want you to be the big bad. And I'm like, it's Negan? And they're like, we can't tell you who it is, but it's the big bad. I'm like, I know it's fucking
I know it's Negan.
No fucking doubt. I know where the show is. And
you were an immediate yes.
And who knew? I was immediate yes. And I think it was like a 2-year deal. I think I had to agree to do 2 or 3 years, which at that time seemed like, that's a lifetime. That's a ton. I like going on a show and kind of hitting and running, do a year on a show and get off and do something else. And here we are, 10 seasons later, and I want to say 17 show years later, Negan is still around, and with Maggie, the person who has hated him for the better part of those 17 years. And so to have a shift in tone like we do this year, where they kind of are working together and. Oh, I know where I was going. Lauren and I were talking earlier, and she was saying, look, these two have been in each other's universe longer than anyone else. And there's a level of trust, believe it or not, that goes with that. And they are a family, a dysfunctional family, but they are the two that know each other the most. And so that's kind of where the season kicks off at.
I feel like you saying family really kind of reminded me in my head that I feel like your reaction to Ginny is what kind of sold her on you.
Yeah.
That your reaction, I mean, Ginny turning killed you.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
And I feel like her watching you was kind of her final acceptance of like,
yeah,
okay, we're in together now.
I think that you're absolutely right. And this season kind of starts right there, and that's a great jumping off point where this season begins is Lauren doing something that Negan's not happy with her about, and it has everything to do with Ginny and the relationship I had with her, and Negan gets butthurt, and so it starts off with them kind of butting heads as usual, as Negan limps up the hill nursing the stab wound that he has.
Yeah, to his kidney.
But you're right. I think that did something, and look, and Negan sacrificed his life a few times to save her and Herschel.
Right. At what point is the slate clean?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I saved the kid. I saved two kids. Like, how many I gotta save here?
I mean, I figure it's probably never going to be clean. But being able to, I think, have progress within that dirtiness is a cool place to go. And the reason that I think I'm still Negan after all these years and not doing that hit and run or the 3-year contract I'm out is because every year there's something new that I get to do as an actor. And I feel incredibly lucky to have a character that has evolved in one way or another. And he has his moments where he falls back, and he has to. I mean, that's the beauty of Negan, is that he's always going to be Negan. Even this year, he still has his fucking moments that you'll recognize fully from season 1.
You said this year. One thing that struck me while I was watching Walking Dead: Dead City is, out now, you have a tremendous amount of like fantastic character actors. Yeah. Jane Emery, Kim Coates, Gaius Charles, fucking Zelko Ivanek. Pronunciation correct there?
Zelko, yeah.
Zelko Ivanek. Everyone's fucking amazing. And then this year you're adding Jimmy Simpson, who is, come on, right?
Greatest.
You sent in one of the scenes where he's a bartender, and it seems as though he's maybe learned how to defang the walkers.
Yeah.
He is. I'm a humongous Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan.
Oh, he's
so
something.
the McCoyles in that. How great is it working with not even just Jimmy, but that level of character?
I'll tell you, Jimmy and I did a show together called The Division in like 1991.
No shit.
And it was his first real Hollywood job, and him and I were guest stars, and I played a priest and he was an altar boy. And it's don't go there. That's not where the show goes. But so we've known each other that long.
No shit, 91.
And so yeah, and his first job, and obviously he's come a long way since then, but he's one of our finest character actors, period, I think. And he can do anything. He can do drama, humor, whatever. My daughter's favorite show happens to be the show called Haunted Hotel on Netflix that he does a voice for, and she's obsessed.
No way.
And like Jimmy came home with me for Thanksgiving this year and spent it with our family and the Rudds, and so I introduced him to all my friends, and he fit right in. And, he's part of the family now.
Well, you mentioned the Rudds. We got to talk about Stewart's Candy Shop, because
Samuel's,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Samuel's Candy Shop, because I am a sugar addict.
Oh, I wish I would have known.
Genuinely true blue sugar addict. And when I'm always like, always obviously doing study and learning up on my guests, and I've never had a reaction like I had when I read that you own a candy shop. Like I was like, no way, dude. I didn't even know, like, that's the dream. Like, you've done so many incredible things in your career. For some reason, I was like,
that's the pinnacle.
He's got it, dude. He's living the dream out there.
It's pretty great. It's a really cool, and if you ever have the opportunity to go upstate to Rhinebeck, it's right on the main street there. And I had been doing a film, I think I was doing a movie called Taking Woodstock, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Or was it that? I can't remember. Anyway, I was on the other side of the river. I was, and I came over to Rhinebeck to visit a buddy of mine, Griffin Dunn, And we went into Rhinebeck, and the first place we stopped was this little candy store and to get a cup of coffee. There was a coffee candy store, and it's just tiny. It's as big as this room. And it was like walking into a Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah.
It hadn't changed ever. And I met the owner, this guy named Ira, who I fell in love with. We ended up buying a little log cabin and like 14 acres on that very day, that trip. About 6 miles from Rhinebeck, and haven't moved since. I mean, haven't.
No shit, you bought a house that day?
We bought a house that day. We bought a little log cabin that day. And I had just bought a house in LA, never went back to LA. We had our son was, a baby, like baby. We bought a 1,200 square foot cabin. We had 2 big dogs and a little baby. And we were like, well, we'll go like spend a month out of the year, and I can pretend I'm a woodsman, and she can grow a garden, and we'll do all that. And then we never left, never went back to LA. And it was time to choose schools for Gus, who's now, a junior in high school. And we were like, fuck it, let's stay in the Hudson Valley. We didn't love LA, had done it and didn't love it, and changed our life. And then, 2 years later, we outgrew that little cat. I still own it, by the way. If my wife ever leaves me, I'm gonna move to that cabin. You know what I mean?
You got the safety net?
I got it. And my Hillary's like, I'm not going to leave you. I'm like, you don't know that. One, I certainly don't know it. And I love that little cabin, so I'm keeping it. It's really cool.
That's so awesome.
But it all stemmed from visiting, this little candy store. Met the Rudds like the following year because they have a house right up there. Became really good friends with them. And I was off in Mexico doing a Western, and I was gone for a long time. It was a show called Texas Rising with Bill Paxton and Ray Liotta, and we lived in Durango, Mexico I was there forever. It was like 8 months shoot. Roland Joffe directed it. A really cool series. And Ira passed away while I was gone, just out of nowhere. And I flew back home, and I went to dinner with Paul and Julia's wife, and our friend Andy, and I was like, look, why don't we just buy it? Why don't we buy the candy store? Don't let some out-of-towner buy it or have it turned into a juice shop or whatever, fucking fast food, whatever it may be, and keep it as it is. And we did. And
that's such a great story.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah, and that was, I don't know, that was 10 years ago now, and the store's doing great. I was just there like 3 days ago, and it's awesome.
I keep thinking, I'm so jealous of this.
It's awesome.
I'm so jealous of the candy shop.
I get free coffee, but I have to pay for my candy. And I always go with my daughter, who's just like this.
Yeah, you're in the red lifetime on this
God, Jesus Christ, we got so much candy around. It's great.
So go see The Walking Dead out now.
Or go to Samuel Sweets.
Go to Samuel Sweets.
Yeah.
Even better, right?
Yeah,
that goes right into your pocket.
Actually, I don't think I've made a dime from it, but I haven't spent any more money either. It keeps itself going.
Paz, what do we got for our next scene, brother?
We got Losers.
Hell yeah.
Oh, Losers.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, Idris Elba.
I'm definitely gonna cut your head off. Go for it. Son of a bitch.
Losers, unbelievable. 2010.
Coolest cast ever.
Insane cast.
Coolest
you,
cast
Idris
ever.
Elba, Chris Evans, who crushes it. Chris Evans is awesome. Zoe Saldana, Jason Patric, Holt McElhaney. Like, it's an insane cast. Directed by Sylvain White.
Yeah. Who directed 2 episodes of Dead City this year.
Get out of here.
I got him. I went and did the second to last episode of Boys. Sylvain was directing. And I'm like, come and do my show.
No way.
And he's like, I'd love to do your show. And he did 2 episodes of Dead City this year.
That's fucking insane.
And it was awesome because, he directed Losers. I fell in love with him then. Had kind of lost contact with him. And there he was directing the second to last episode of Boys the final year. And then I brought him immediately into Dead City.
Dude.
And he did 2 episodes. And I mean, our crew loved him. Our crew doesn't love anybody, and they fell in love with Sylvain, who's just like the coolest motherfucker you've ever lived.
How cool is that? Just like working in Hollywood and getting to reconnect with friends in that fashion.
It's great when there's a lot of douchebags in Hollywood. You can weed those out pretty quick, but the great ones you hold on to.
Yeah.
And you may lose contact for a little while, but when you're there, you're there. And Sylvain's one of those. Jimmy Simpson is one of those. I've been very lucky to work with some really great people that not only great actors or directors, but I just want real people around me. I don't want any of the fake bullshit. I've earned that right at 60 years old.
I would agree with that.
I don't have to put up with that crap. And if they're on the show and they're like that, they're going to be off the show. I'll have a person killed immediately. Executive producer.
You got that
There's a payoff there. So you want to be surrounded by the people that you like and the people that are cool and the people that are talented. And I've been around long enough now where I kind of know those folks.
You know how to spot it too?
Yeah.
Now this was a 3-month shoot. I think you guys were on location in Puerto Rico,
Puerto Rico.
How was that? What was like working with Feitelberg to kind of create this character?
Well, I mean, he wrote it, and at one point he was attached to direct it. He ended up just producing it, I think. But I remember meeting, I think I was doing Watchmen, and I ran into Pete Berg on an airplane, and I had read Losers already, and I think he was still attached to direct, and we ended up sitting next to each other, and we talked about Losers the whole flight from New York to L.A. About a year later, Joel Silver called, and he had just been to a screening of Watchmen at like the Warner Brothers lot and offered me the role of Clay.
Was anyone else attached at the time?
No one was attached. I was the first one attached, and then I did a couple meetings with Zoe, the Zoe character, and it was so weird. It was just like a meet and greet, but you had like the studio executive sitting there, and then you and I are Zoe, and it's just us like talking. I mean, we weren't doing scenes, nothing.
Just hanging out.
It was just hanging out, but being watched. Like it
some
was
voyeurs.
So fucking weird. Like you guys just talk amongst yourselves, and they're just like hanging on every word.
Wait, that's fucking insane.
It's super weird, right? I've never been in a more uncomfortable situation in my life, and I had the job. But yeah, that was that meeting. It was done, and I was like, well, that was awkward as fuck. And they're like, yeah, we like her. We're gonna hire her. I'm like, great,
perfect.
I mean, that worked out then.
And then you guys all went on to become the most famous people on the planet. Like,
well,
Zoe's now like the most. I believe she is the highest grossing actor of all time currently.
I think so. Between Avatars and The Guardians,
yeah,
she's crazy. Won an Oscar. I don't even know these people anymore.
Now, one thing I love in this scene is towards the end, you and Idris Elba, you're having your big fight, and like. It's such an action movie moment where he licks both his knives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He licks both his knives, and you're like, we finally get to do this.
Yeah.
And then you go, it ends, you die badly. That's your line.
Yeah.
You die. And just getting to say that kind of shit.
Yeah, just saying that kind of stuff. But I remember these scenes with Idris in particular that it would be like a page of dialogue, but it would end up being about 7 pages of dialogue because both of us wanted to have the last word in every scene. And so he would say something that he thought was a great button, and I would top it. And so it would go on, and I know Sylvain was just behind the monitor, just like, what the fuck do I do here? They're not even close to the script anymore. But both of us wanted to have the last word so much.
That reminds me, I'm a big Fast and Furious fan. Do you know about their thing that they have on set?
No, what do they have?
There's like the Wall Street Journal did an article on it. There's like a math equation to who gets the last punch because
isn't it what's his face Diesel?
No, because sometimes when he's fighting The Rock, the rules are no one can ever lose a fight on the Fast and Furious. So every fight just has to kind of end.
Oh, so there's no winner.
There's no winner in any of the fights. So the way you were talking about going back and forth with the button was kind of reminding me of that.
Yeah. I mean, I heard the horror stories. I remember from Fast and Furious, but I'd never heard that one.
That was great.
Yeah.
It's a whole breakdown. I actually just read the book,
that.
Welcome to the Family. It's very cool.
Yeah, man, that should have done so much better. There was a whole story behind that.
The Losers was awesome. I got that.
Great fucking movie. It came out at the same time as The A-Team.
Very similar. Yeah.
Very similar. I think ours was a better movie.
I agree.
Frankly. But I think Joel Silver was leaving Warner Brothers at the time. Warner Brothers was mad at Joel and vice versa. And so really there was just no marketing. Warner Brothers was like, we're not going to deal with you or you. And so there was just no marketing when the movie came out.
How frustrating is that?
It was
as an
super
actor?
frustrating.
Fucking tell someone about this.
It was kind of my first lead in a studio film. And I just got kind of dicked, just by the system and what the system is.
When that's happening, are you calling your agent like, "What the fuck? Get him to promote it. Get him to do something."
I didn't know. I didn't understand it at that time either. I understand the kind of all the ins and outs of it all. I remember being very frustrated that I wasn't seeing any ads for it because Watchmen had just come out like the year before, where that was everywhere.
Yeah, right.
It was like nonstop, and we were doing press for days. And then we did like, half a day junket, and there was just nothing. And I was like, with this cast, how do you just leave this out to die?
I didn't see it. I've always been a big movie guy. I didn't see it until it came out on Redbox. I remember getting it on a Redbox in Newport, Rhode Island, and watching it and being like, this movie fucking rules,
it's
dude.
a fun movie.
Yeah.
And I remember while we were shooting it, we all were sure, we're going to do 5 or 6 of these.
Yeah.
This is going to be a whole thing. And the comic books, I don't know if you've read them, but they're great. And there was so many places to go, and I was prepared to be Clay for a long time, and it was a one-off.
It worked out well, though, right?
Yeah,
it all works out well.
We all had so much fun doing it. It was worth just going and making that movie. It really was. We were all full of piss and vinegar, and we were pretty young then, all of us, and you can't let us loose in Puerto Rico with casinos and shit. It was just like, oh Lord,
dude. I remember I went to San Juan once, and as I was watching the movie, you guys were at a cockfighting ring, and I remembered the huge cockfighting ring in San Juan, and I was like, I got a feeling Jeff and Idris hit up a real cockfighting ring.
Oh yeah, we did. We did. It was fun doing research.
Paz, we got next Watchmen. Let's do Watchmen.
You'll remember me in my country forever.
My face!
Come.
Play.
Đừng nghĩ kìa em.
Don't.
Con.
She was pregnant.
Now, who's standing next to you when you film that scene? Is someone in a green screen suit? Or is
Billy Crudup's next to me with dots all over his face, basically wearing like a diaper and dots all over his body.
No shit.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I was thinking about that because you were talking about earlier the promotion of Watchmen, and I remember you guys didn't even need promotion because I just remember everyone talking about the big blue dick.
Yeah, the big blue dick.
The big blue dick was the ultimate marketing campaign.
Talk about scene stealing.
Dude, but then I was rewatching it last night, and I was thinking about, Zack Snyder directs it. Obviously, he's got to be involved in like every shot and all that stuff.
Everything.
Was he in the room like, hey, let's make him uncircumcised? You know what I mean?
I'm sure he did. I'm sure.
Like, what? He got foreskin on that thing? Get it off.
He was involved in every bit of
give it a better swing here.
A little more momentum. I want like a pendulum.
This is
routine.
Dr. Manhattan we're talking about.
Yeah. Just walking through Vietnam with that dick a-swinging. It was awesome. I can't say enough about the experience of filming that movie. It was such a big deal. Watchmen, it was the greatest graphic novel of all time, and there was a script, but all we had on set was the graphic novel. Zack's graphic novel sat on top of where his little perch was. Zack was always behind a camera anyway. I mean, the guy wants to be behind a camera shooting everything. So he's in my face every close up. It's Zack right here with a camera in my face, which I loved. And I'm friends with him to this day. It's just one of those people that I adore. And it was just, I'd never been on a movie that like the opening fight scene, comedian Ozymandias, that fight scene took us 9 days, and that's what we started with.
No shit.
And I'd never, I shoot 10 pages a day.
Yeah.
Now we're shooting a half a page in 8 days.
Dude, 9 days.
9 days to do that opening fight scene. And I was in all the prosthetic makeup, so I would go to work at like 2 a.m, start the makeup process, get ready, be ready to shoot by like 9, 10. Because remember, I started off the movie as like a 70-some-year-old dude. And
you go 2 and you'd be makeup 2 to 9, 2 to 10?
Yeah. Oh, it was a whole fucking thing.
What are you doing in the chair the whole time?
I watched TV. I remember I had an iPad, and you know what I remember watching was this show called Heroes. Do you remember Heroes?
Yeah, of course.
I watched all of Heroes in the course of that week. That first week, I watched like 7 seasons or whatever it was. And that's when they did like 26 episodes a season. I watched all of that. But I remember I'd be exhausted by the time makeup was done, you know, because I couldn't sleep in the chair. So I just remember, like, my day would be starting. I knew I'd be shooting a 14-hour day. I'd already been in for
7
hours.
God damn, dude, that's hard. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a fucking long day.
So the first week and a half was really sucky for me. And then after that, it was great. Because, you know, Zack figured out also, well, if he's going to be in makeup, you know, that long, we'll work him and then we'll give him a day off, that type of thing. So, and, you know, everybody's kind of spread out through this film, but, you know, the comedian... It's got really like kind of 5 big moments throughout the film, and you know he's in and out a little bit. But what a cool movie, and everything's practical. You know, jumping out of the owl ship and the Keene riots and all that stuff was. I remember my dad was there for that, and that was really cool.
That?
Yeah,
it was. Your dad, huh?
Was, I mean,
come on,
it was so cool. I've never seen it. You know, my dad's always he's not with us anymore, but he was always very stoic and he had a hard time saying that he was proud or, you know, that kind of thing. I knew it, but he just never said it. And I remember that day it was a lot.
Yeah.
It kind of blew his mind.
One of those you don't even have to say it.
Yeah, and Zack had him sitting right next to him. You know, I think he had chairs made that said, you know, Richard Morgan.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so it was a cool deal. But I had so much fun. And again, the cast was amazing. And we all became so tight. We shot that in Vancouver. And that was another like kind of 6-month deal. And you're just with each other for 6 months, and it was great.
What that one did was crazy too. Is that did almost as much as it did in the box office on DVD sales.
Yeah,
it did I think it was like 150 in the box, 150 on DVD sales.
Yeah, I think I think it's become. I think when it came out, it was like the first rated R kind of comic book film, and comic book movies at that time were relatively new.
Right.
And it was before all the Marvel stuff, and here we come with Watchmen and the big swinging dick and unapologetic violence, and I don't think the world was ready for it. But people find it now and love it.
It is. I was thinking that last night, like particularly now with the way superhero and comic book movies are, that is such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
it's so different.
I mean, it's
so
really
fun
the
and cool.
anti-hero. I mean, the comedian, this should not be a superhero of any sort. I mean, he's a horrible person. It doesn't get more nihilistic, but it was kind of ahead of its time, I think was the problem with it. And so in the box office, it didn't do that well. I think it threw everybody for such a friggin' loop. But now people are finding it, and you know, Zack has, like he does with all of his movies, 4 different versions. The director's cut, the extended director's cut, the one with the black freighter in it. You know what I mean? It's like you can watch a 10-hour movie of Watchmen if you want. But extremely proud to be a part of that film.
And then the last one, we're going to skip. I wanted to do Solace with you, but we're going to do that next time you come.
Okay.
I love that scene of you and Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, right. One of my favorite people in the world.
We're going to skip right to, we got Negan in here. We're doing Walking Dead, Dead City. We got to do the Negan introduction.
Which one of you pricks is the leader?
It's this one. He's the guy.
Hi. You're Rick, right? I'm Negan. And I do not appreciate you killing my men. Also, when I sent my people to kill your people for killing my people, you killed more of my people. Not cool. Not cool. You have no idea how not cool that shit is. But I think you're gonna be up to speed shortly. Yeah. You are so gonna regret crossing me in a few minutes. Yes, you are.
I I know you were on the set of Good Wife, right?
Yes.
And you flew down for a day just to shoot this.
I had 2 days to shoot it, 2 nights. And we shot all of their side. They're playing it here. We can see it. We're fast forwarding. But we shot their side first because it's only me that talks in this. And it's about a 10-page monologue of Negan prancing and talking and maybe hitting a couple of people. But no one else says a word. And so the first day we had like 11 cameras going. And they were all behind me on them. So it was close-ups of, Rick and Maggie and Glenn and Daryl and all that kind of coverage. And then the second night, they turned around on me. Okay. So it gave me a night to kind of find Negan. Because I literally was playing, a detective on a fucking lawyer show the day before. And I remember I couldn't get they wouldn't send me the sides for this. I think they were both working on them, even though they ended up being almost identical to the comic book. But at this time they were so secretive about everything. And I was like, you gotta send me this. I gotta learn it. And I remember getting it and like going, oh God, no one else is talking. And this is a lot. And just walking around my farm for hours and hours trying to learn this monologue. But I'll never forget it. One, it was cold as shit. We shot this like in November in Georgia, and for whatever reason, it was a cold spell, and everybody was like shaking, and we were shooting in 14 hours as soon as it got dark, and it got dark early in November, and worked until like 7 or 8 in the morning. And then we shot alternate endings because it was such a big show, and people were spoiling it all the time. And there was somebody spoiling it in the dubbing process for another country, and they were releasing what was happening on the show. So I don't remember what country it was. Say it was, I don't know, Spain or something. They were releasing what was happening on the show on the internet before the episode would come out. So we shot an ending, and I think they had an idea of where in the world it was coming from. So I killed everybody in this lineup. I take a bat to every person's head.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and send it out all over the world.
As like spycraft?
As spycraft.
No shit, dude.
And then we figured out who the leak was. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, so I killed everybody. Yeah.
Smart, too.
And so on the first, it ended with the bat swing. I didn't know who I killed.
Even you didn't until season 7?
I didn't know. I mean, I knew in the comic book it was Glenn. I had no idea. Like I remember Abraham. I remember Michael Cutlett's coming up to me. He played Abraham, and I kill him. And I remember him coming up to me on day 1 or 2 of me shooting. He's like, "Do you know how you kill?" And I'm like, "I don't know. No one's telling me who I kill." And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna love it." I didn't know it was him. I didn't know it was going to be him.
You're going to love it. You're going to love that.
You're going to love it. Yeah, I mean, he was so excited. I remember him and Steven. Steven in the because you don't see the death until the next season. Right.
Yeah.
So on the last shot we shot right as the sun was coming up was the bat coming down, and I was hitting a C-stand, like one of these C-stands had a bar between them, and I was hitting that with the camera right here. So all you see is the bat coming down, and then it cuts to black.
Yeah.
And that's what pissed off the audience.
I remember that was such a mega social media moment where I was like, oh my God, who was it? Did you have to work on your swing for that? Did you already have to swing?
No, I had to swing down.
Had to swing?
But what I did come up with was the lean and just the kind of the enjoyment that Negan had, the smile. I kind of came up with that in the first night when we were on them because I could tell the reaction of the other actors, what was bothering them, what was getting under their skin. And the lean in particular, when I would do it, I was watching Andy Lincoln and I could see it piss him off because it was just like a rooster fucking being cocky. It was something, and I could see it getting into not just Rick's brain, but it was getting into Andy's brain.
Could you feel that power in you? Like you saw their weakness, you felt your power?
Yeah. I think that half my job is to study, is to pay attention to what the other actors you're working with are doing. And this was a great example for me looking for almost weaknesses I could exploit because you want the best reaction. Because what we had there was a lot of tears and a lot of shivering because it was cold, but you didn't have like we're dead. Like you didn't sense that kind of fear until I started doing some weirder shit. And as soon as I started doing weirder shit, you could see a shift in and after you do a scene 20 times, it's hard to get reactions from actors that have already like, look, I did my close-up already. I did it. But when I started doing things, I'd be like, let me have another take. Let me do another take. Or Andy would say, he just did something there, let him do it again, put the camera back on me. And then by the time the next night came around, I really kind of had it dialed in, and it was such a dance because with 11 cameras and that many cast members, and making sure you were at your mark at the right spot. But really, it's about getting a reaction from all of them and making sure that we're getting that. And so it was weird little things that I would do. I knew when I was backlit by headlights that a lean and a swing of the bat was going to make blood go flying everywhere. And that blood that hit Andy's face actually happened.
Really?
Who fucking knew? I mean, I didn't,
That's just a throw.
No one just chucked it. It was me swinging the bat, being an asshole, and it just went pop. And he was just like unbelievable. And he had snot bubbles coming out. And
he was great. It's a Joker-esque performance from you because you're like, you are the villain, but you're also the comedic relief.
Yeah.
It is, and that the mannerisms you're talking about also kind of struck me as Joker-esque.
It was the mannerisms because it's hard to because comic book is such a great Bible to work off of, and I had learned that so well in Watchmen, and I had that also with The Walking Dead, and Kirkman did such an amazing job with these novels, and you don't want to stray from that too much. The problem is that Negan says fuck every other word, so for the first year, including this scene, I would do a take for TV, which you saw, and then I would do the fuck take, which is verbatim from the comic book. And I got to tell you, it's just too many fucks. Really? When you say it out loud, it's like every other word is fuck, and it loses its power. It really loses its kind of what the whole reason behind it is. But for the first year, I had to learn the scenes both ways, and I don't know if you remember, but Negan talked a lot.
Yeah.
Like he never just had like a one line. It was always 4 pages every time he said anything. And so I would have to learn it 2 ways: the comic book version way with the language, and then the TV that they could air.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. I didn't sleep for 2 years trying to learn lines. Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, they're giving us the rap sign. We're getting you pulled out of here. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Yeah,
Watch
my
Walking
pleasure.
Dead: Dead City Season 3 out now on AMC and AMC Plus.